Hey, welcome to the channel. So I got a buddy of mine's car we're working on. It's a 2005 325i. He got it pretty cheap. It wasn't running. The top didn't work, stuff like that. So the paint's obviously not the best. So doing some work on this to see if we can make it a decent runner. So first thing he wanted to check and see if we can get if I could get the top working. So the latches and the front latches wouldn't unlatch on this from the windshield, so it's common for those little plastic gears to break in the latch mechanism, the motor. So we're going to go ahead and do a walkthrough on how to replace those gears and see if we can get it to unlatch and then go from there. So the first thing you need to do is pull the rear T30 out of this front gasket here. And then there's another one up front here that I'll show you that comes out. Maybe another one on the front side here, right there. So we'll pop that one out. Now this is connected all the way around the top, so you don't want to yank on this or pull down because you don't want to tear this weather stripping. So we'll go ahead and get this bolt out next. Okay, with both the bolts out, this little piece drops down. You can see where we pulled them out from. Now we'll do the same for the other side and get that piece down as well. Okay, so next step, once you get this stuff pulled, it's get a long 5mm Allen in here. Right there. You'll feel it catch. You also want to make sure inside the car that piece is loosened all the way out in the unlock position. That's a 4mm Allen. So what you'll do is you'll go counterclockwise on this. Watch it starting to unsetting the top from the windshield. That's it. Pop that guy out. Sorry for bouncing the camera around. Now our windshield is separated from the, or our top is separated from our windshield. Alright, so once you loosen this up, make sure you spin this front, the 5 in here, make sure you spin it until it completely stops, or else it won't unlatch the back, as I just found out. Also, another thing, there's a light. So you can push that button down and you put a little Allen wrench in that, and you want to make sure your cables here are all the way forward like that. That releases the back latches. So with that and the front all the way loose, this should push up easily. About one more thing you want to make sure also is that your stowaway latch is out as per your picture in your trunk. So with that, we should be able to push this top up. Alright, so we got the top up. Next thing we're going to attempt, we want to remove this panel because we want to get access to that motor, because that is what I think the suspect is on this, because it was making noise, like a clicking noise, when you try and opened it, you know, with the buttons. And it's a common issue, there are plastic gears in there. So we got some China-made gears here from Amazon, but they're brass. So we'll see if that works. Hopefully that's the problem. This car did have a lot of water ingress in it, so it may, the motor back there may be fried. Not entirely sure, but the top hasn't been opened on this in years, so we're off to a good start, at least having the top open. So we'll go ahead and remove this T20, and then there's one on the other side. Alright, so I got the one T20 here, and then there's also one on the inside here that you remove as well. So we'll go ahead and pull that out on each side. Okay, so next step is getting back behind here underneath this fabric. You can see back in there, there's 6 T20 bolts along this metal piece back here, and these just need to be loosened, not taken out. So we'll go ahead and get that. Alright, so we got the screws loosened on the back side underneath the cover. Next are these little 7mm nuts. Now these should have a black cover on them. This one's missing, and I'm starting to notice, I believe this top's been replaced before, because a lot of stuff's been loosened, some bolts are missing, etc. So we'll go ahead and pull these 2 7mm and keep moving on. Now we can move on to the 9 T10 screws going all the way across. Alright, this thing literally just pops right off once those bolts are out. Should have left the camera on, but yeah. Literally just pops right out. You can leave the gasket attached, just careful not to damage it. Those are expensive. Now we have access, all that to finally get access to our motors here. So we'll go ahead and get this disconnected. And then should be some bolts on the back of this, and then we can see if the gears are broken in it. Alright, I got the blue plug to the motor unplugged. Looks like we got 2 10mm. 2 10mm holding it on. You may want to try and use like some type of impact, because it looks like they got these little rubber isolators, and that broke with it. So, yep, there it goes. So next thing to do should just be able to pull these cables out. There's one, there's the other. There's your motor. So yeah, it's got a little rubber isolator there. Somebody put Loctite on that. So yeah, that one broke using a ratchet. It just tore the rubber. So I'll have to get a new one of those. So we'll pull these T10 screws off and see what's behind here. Alright, pop the little cover off. And sure enough, there it is. You can see the gear, that plastic gear cracked in half. Also the brass gear up there has got quite a bit of wear on it too. I may even reuse, so it comes with these new plastic ones, but I don't know, may reuse the factory ones. And put a little grease on your gear. It should fall right in there. Go ahead and tighten this on, and then back to reassembly. So we got our motor back in, got a new mount. So that's all tight, all our wiring's plugged back in. So we'll go ahead and do the reverse process and start putting back in that panel, along with the weather stripping that's still on it. And get it back together and see if it'll electronically unlatch. And then from there, can determine if anything else is not working on this system. Which I have a feeling, I don't know if the hydraulics in the back even work, but I know this was one of the issues, so this will at least allow the top to be manually opened and closed without having to pull all this stuff off. Alright, we got the two 7 mils snug. There's little slots in the back here on this panel, and they slide into those screws you loosened up inside the fabric there, so make sure those seat and this sits flush. And we got those two snugged, and we'll move on to going ahead and reattaching our weather stripping on each side. Alright, so our two T30s are back in and tight. Make sure your weather stripping's pushed all the way down. You can even see like the marks in the bolts, the bolt holes where the bolts were. Just kind of make sure they're in there and make sure this is snugged all the way up against the frame. Now we can put in all our small bolts up top and then retighten the ones behind the top and here, the hard to get to ones. And then the T20 here attaching this little guy. So we'll get all those torqued up and it should be it. We should be good with this, and then we can hook the battery back up and make sure the latch works. Alright, last ones, don't forget your T20 underneath here, and then your T20 on here. Needs to be the last two. Alright, so we got everything back together. top is closed. We went ahead and closed it, so we'll go ahead and do key on and see if our gears are working to unlatch. There we go. So now unlatches, but you can hear the pump back there running, but it's not doing anything else. So assumption now is that the pump is not producing enough hydraulic pressure to open the top. But at least with this, the latching mechanism working again, he can unlatch the top and manually open it now without having to pull apart all this side piece and sticking that long Allen through there to unlatch it. So that's a plus. We'll see if he wants to, how much more money he wants to put in this car, and see if he wants to replace the pump.